Hello and welcome. You're watching Newsx. I'm Megha Sharma and we are celebrating Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 75th birthday. It is a proud moment for the country with regards to the achievements of the Prime Minister that have led to the development and the welfare of the country and its countrymen. We were talking about just a while ago about the legacies that the man who is worldwide called a statesman has achieved for the country. We will be specifically talking about women empowerment, about Nari Shakti. A woman's stride in leading the national transformation has been a defining feature under the Modi government. Under Prime Minister, the focus has shifted from women development to women-led development. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's development has found unequivocal support from women in the country. Nari Shakti is now the most crucial prerequisite for economic growth. Women being the biggest beneficiaries of the Modi government's flagship schemes like Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana and Ujjwala scheme have experienced freedom from financial dependability and day-to-day drudgery. With the Jan Dhan Yojana, the percentage of banked women has increased to a record 61%, giving a major fillip to female financial literacy and empowerment in the country. As Prime Minister says, India cannot achieve success if 50% of our population being women are locked at home. A major thrust area of the Modi government has been to nurture women entrepreneurs through financial support, skilling and training. From women sarpanchs to legislators, the role of women in public service is being encouraged like never before. The need to save the girl child and promote girl education has been articulated by the Prime Minister with immense urgency and sensitivity. With constant efforts under Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao scheme, India's sex ratio has risen to a historic high of 1,020 females versus 1,000 males. As India catapults to a major global economic power, the need for women's participation in the nation's growth story is becoming critical by the day. In fact, we have zeroed in on some of the most important and significant welfare schemes and initiatives that have been launched under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership in the country, and we're going to talk about them, the salient features and what has been achieved in the last 12 years of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's regime in the country. Let's take a look at the first big initiative that has led to the rise in the sex ratio. As I was talking about, before 2014, the sex ratio was 943 women for 100 males. In 2025, this has risen to a historic high of 1,020 females per 1,000 males. In fact, let's take a look at the second initiative that has brought about a complete transformation in women's lives in our country is paid maternity leaves. This has been a change that was brought in back in 2017. Paid leaves were increased from 12 to 26 weeks. What has happened is that, in fact, work from home was allowed once paid leave was complete. There was creche facility that has also been made available. It is mandatory now in office premises. Talking about Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana, 5,000 cash incentive in 3 installments as maternity benefit to women has now been provided. Ever since the launch of the scheme, there are 4.05 crore women that have benefited from this scheme up until today. Talking about assured quality antenatal care for every pregnant woman and maternal mortality rate that has risen. In fact, back in 2014, there were 130 per 1 lakh live births that had taken place. In 2020, this has reduced through 97 per 1 lakh live births. In fact, talking about yet another important schemes. This is about the young girls of the country. Sukanya Samriddhi accounts were opened up. Once a girl child attained the age of 10 years, the initial deposit of 250 rupees is done by the government. In fact, there are 4.1 crore Sukanya Samriddhi accounts that have been opened up until now since the launch of this scheme. Talking about women in armed forces, and there has been quite the change that has happened, giving a fillip to women who want to be part of the armed forces and work for the nation. Before 2012, there were 8,353 women that were recruited in the armed forces. This number has increased significantly to 11,414 women. And the first ever batch of 17 women cadets passed out from the NDA in 2025, which is earlier this year. Talking about Prime Minister Mudra loans to women, there are more than 68% of the 52 crore accounts that are now held by women. In fact, there are 35 crore loans worth 14.72 lakh crores that have been received by women. Let's take a look at the Jan Aushadhi Suvidha sanitary napkin scheme. There are over 72 crore sanitary napkins that have been sold at just nominal amount of 1 rupee. Sanitary pads usage has increased from 11% to 55% across the country. Talking about Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen scheme, where 73% of over 2.75 crore Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Grameen householders are now women. That's a significant chunk. So, as we have taken a look at these huge transformations that have been brought forth because of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's initiatives for women empowerment, and not just women empowerment, women-led development. Now, these schemes and initiatives and welfare programs have been instrumental in reaching these milestones that the government of India has set for itself for a developed nation, for a Viksit Bharat. Joining me on the telecast to talk more about this is Kiran Bedi. She is the former Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us. In fact, I do want to understand from you about the Prime Minister and his initiatives focusing on women-led development and empowerment that have been achieved in the last 12 years. What is your interpretation of it when we talk about Nari Shakti?
Our Honorable Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, first of all, wishing him a very, very happy birthday. One full of good health and safety and energy, because his health and energy will make Bharat Viksit. So wishing him a very, very happy birthday. Last 10 years, which I have seen directly functioning under his supervision, under his guidance, during the time when I was the Lieutenant Governor Puducherry, 2016 till 2021. I've seen him as a very, very involved leader, very committed leader, one who has the vision and sensitivity for everybody, certainly women, certainly women. And how do I say this? When he started with Swachh Bharat, the biggest beneficiary were women. Because the men had no problem of going out into the fields whenever they wanted. But women had a problem. They couldn't go out during the day. So they had to hold themselves back till it was dark. And that, you remember those days, 2014, 15, 16 onwards, we used to have, particularly 15, we used to have violence, crimes against women, violence, women, little girls being raped or dragged into a hut and raped. I've heard that and I've seen that. So I think the biggest beneficiary all these last 10 years have been women's safety, women development, safety from that Swachh Bharat. That was a massive movement where actually there was a change of culture. People did not want a toilet in their own homes. It was a forced change of culture to the biggest benefit of women.
Absolutely. Now, talking about the Prime Minister's push for the development of the women in our country. How significant is it now that India's maternal mortality rate has fallen from 130 to 97, which is a 30% drop?
It's amazing, because healthcare has reached them to the doorstep. The Asha workers scheme, the Anganwadis, the portion to nutrition, the nutrition is helped, and then the availability of institutional deliveries. So all this has come to their doorstep. Healthcare has also come to their doorstep. I've seen jaga dispensaries being opened and preventive healthcare coming in. That has happened during the time I've experienced it myself, how the Prime Minister's office was monitoring it from a dashboard, how we were all performing. It was amazing. And also, don't forget clean water. Clean water has also reached them. So healthcare is directly linked with the health of a woman is directly linked with her nutrition, water, healthcare, and also access and availability of institutional maternity, institutional delivery system, and close by. And then aftercare, the care, the pregnancy women, the Balwaris, the Anganwadis, they played an amazing role. And this has been the biggest change, where women have got cared for, got better nutrition at the pregnancy stage, at the conception stage, and then subsequent child care. Their care as on conception, pregnancy, and then a childbirth, and then the child also being taken care of, and post care. All this is a package, friends.
Absolutely. Now, moving a step forward, the country's women have been provided with better health care, reducing the number of women who die during childbirth, and that's an achievement. But the Prime Minister has gone a step further. How crucial do you think does it become that the maternity leaves from just 12 weeks has been increased to 24 weeks? And how does this empower women in the workforce?
Every home, to become a home, needs the woman. Otherwise, it's a house. So, homes with caring mothers, healthy mothers, friends, I think is the key. So, when you have an empowered woman, financially also secure, food also at a delivery, cooking gas available, clean water available, also can take a loan to earn for herself, has a mother at home, and also having a scheme which she can even work from home. So imagine you have empowered the poorest of the poor. Only thing is she needed to know this. And once she knew it, there was no death. During the COVID time, I remember how women were selling vegetables from their farmlands, sending into the market, and they were all women-led, SHG driven. They had money. So I think all this has empowered women. Homes. It's made safer homes, even for their daughters, sons and daughters. So it's from a house with a woman to a home. So better homes make better population, better society, healthier society, safer society.
Right, absolutely. You spoke about being provided loans, and that has made women empowered because they have their own businesses, they have the money power, they are not dependent on their family members, they are not dependent on their husbands and fathers and brothers to run the household for their own livelihood. In fact, 68% of India's Mudra loan beneficiaries are women. Do you see the future where India will have more women entrepreneurs emerging from both rural as well as urban areas?
Absolutely. In fact, there is no, sky's the limit for them. Now, I think the challenge is how do the sarpanchas and the panchas and the resident welfare associations and the pradhans in the Juggi Jompri colonies or the resettlement colonies or the NGOs or the teachers or the social workers or the political leaders convey to them the schemes available to them. There's no dearth. And I would think it's if the bottom-up approach, the way more and more bottom-up approach, more empowered the woman, financially empowered, digitally literate, and marketing is so easy, healthcare being available, feeling secure, and also knows where to go for help, I think will make the world, India, a very, very stronger country. But the question is, go to the grassroots more and more. all the names I mentioned, all these institutions and individuals in position must go to the bottom-up approach. Because the more awareness, more information, the more facilities will be used, and every family will benefit.
Do you think schemes like Drone Didi and Lakhpati Didi are revolutionary for women in our villages?
Totally. They are assuming positions of financial power and even social dignity and social respect. So I think that's where it's changing the way feudal societies, patriarchal societies are looking up looking up towards women-led leadership. It's now women-led development, because you are now digitally equally empowering them as the men were.
And talking about this transformation that has been seen in just a few years, where women are being accepted in the armed forces, the police force, where do we stand, and how soon can we see that there is enrollment of women in the armed forces that perhaps multiplies and quadruples in the next few years?
Oh, the manner in which the Prime Minister and the Government of India and our armed forces made 3 women from the armed forces, the Air Force, the Army and the Navy, lead the press conferences of Sindoor operation. I think it's a salute to the Indian armed force, salute. And the manner in which these 3 represented the armed forces, I think did us all proud. That showed how women in armed forces, in uniformed services have arrived. And you also have many women who've led the Indian police service. There are many director generals of police doing exceedingly well who are women. So I think that goes to the credit where armed forces, both in olive green, blue and the navy, olive green, the white and the blue and the khaki, all have now surfaced as leaders, and it's unparalleled anywhere in the world. Today, women in uniform, whether in armed forces or in civil police, are sought after by the United Nations civil police, peacekeeping. I'm aware of that personally. I had a little hand in it to ensure that our women reach there, but I must tell you, it's a matter of pride. Our women in all armed forces or in civilian or civil police are now being sought after by the United Nations to peacekeeping, and they have done exceedingly well and brought us honors, and they came back with meritorious award.
Kiran Bedi, thank you very much for joining us and sharing your views on this landmark moment that the country celebrates 12 years since Prime Minister Narendra Modi took over as the head of the country, and his 75th birthday that the country is celebrating. It is tomorrow, on the eve of the Prime Minister's 75th anniversary. We are talking about these massive achievements, and most particularly about how women have been empowered. They have been given the power, financial, social and economic, to allow for this transformation to gradually take place. In fact, joining me also on the telecast right now is Mitali Nikore. Mitali, let's hear it from you as well. We were talking about Ujjwala Yojana, we're talking about Mudra loans, we're talking about Lakhpati Didis. How has this impacted the country, its economy, ever since these schemes were launched?
Absolutely, Megha. And, first of all, I think listening to Dr. Kiran Bedi is always so inspiring. She is literally somebody I've looked up to, since I was a child, and she's such a role model for women empowerment across the country. So I'm so glad that you brought her and we could hear from her. So it was really lovely. And I think, when we look at the last 10 years, I won't just go into schemes. The schemes are, of course, visible for all. I will speak about one point, which is around financing and gender budgeting. So if we look at the quantum of the gender budget, the amount of the total expenditure that is being spent on women-led development, that has increased over the last 10 years by at least 3x times. And in the last 1 year itself, it has increased by 37%, and it is now sitting at 4.5 lakh crores and is nearly 10% of the overall expenditure. Now, why am I highlighting this? I'm highlighting this because all the schemes that you're mentioning, be it, Lakpati Didi, be it Namo Drone Didi, be it, any of the other schemes that we are talking about, whether it's Palna, whether it's, Shakti scheme, whether it's Samriddhi scheme, all of these schemes, they require consistent investment. And with the gender budget rising on a year-on-year basis, we have gone from a gender budget which was less than 2% of the total expenditure 10 years ago to now 10% of the total budget. So just imagine how much the government is investing, through its budget expenditure in the development of women. And also, what I will point out, at one point, the entire investment and scheme related expenditure used to be focused on only nutrition, Anganwadis, which is very important. But today, there's been a shift. The expenditure is moving towards a number of other directions. This Anganwadi expenditure has stayed constant.
Yes.
But on top of that, you also have a lot of work that is being done in women's labor force participation. And to increase women's labor force participation from 23%, its all-time low, to 41% today. So this is because of all the work that has been done.
Yeah.
This is the main story of Nari Shakti.
Right. Absolutely. I think you touched upon all the important points, and most importantly, the budgetary allocation, the schemes and the initiatives that are particularly targeting the women. And as an example, the Awas Yojana, I think, like I said, the figures speak for themselves. 52% of the houses that have been handed over to individuals are actually women. So that brings a complete change in the way a woman's economic and social stature in the society, in her village, in her town, in her locality, just increases manifold. I'm going to also bring in Dr. Swati Maheshwari. She is an internal medicine specialist. Dr. Swati, do share with us the importance, in fact, the essentiality of the schemes that have been launched by the Prime Minister, particularly when it comes to the health and development of women, whether it is about the prenatal and postnatal schemes that have been launched, whether we talk about Ujjwala Yojana. How does this impact the health of the women?
So definitely, our Prime Minister believes in the fact that Nari Shakti is the foundation of Viksit Bharat. And as we speak about various different schemes and policies that have been launched by him under his able leadership, I think they are testimony to his vision that is there, because he definitely believes that women should not be a silent beneficiary. She should be an active participant in nation's growth. And that is what is so very evident in all the schemes that we see. Now, if you remember 10 years back, women had a very sorry state to say for, whether it was health or nutrition, household dignity and safety, economic empowerment, everywhere women had a very, very sorry state. And in the last 10 years, I think this picture has completely flipped now. So what we see now is that earlier, there was so much of malnutrition, maternal deaths happening during deliveries, institutional deliveries were not that, kind of known about, or people would not actually want to go for institutional deliveries. But in last 10 years, with kind of different schemes that have come in, the emphasis that they have brought about, the digital tools that have been used in these schemes, and also the Anganwadi structure has been strengthened in a way that now you can see that drastic change where maternal mortality rate has gone down, malnutrition rate is going down. Look at the Poshan 2.0. Then we also have Matru Vandana Yojana. Then a lot of other schemes which indirectly help in health of a woman, be it Ujjwala Yojana, Swachh Bharat Mission, Jal Jeevan Mission. All these things eventually kind of impact the health of a woman, because earlier she was going to fetch fuel for the house, she was going to fetch water for the house. A lot of her time and energy was going into this. Then again, like Mrs. Kiran Bedi emphasized the fact that toilet was such an important step in the entire trajectory of women upliftment, because earlier their dignity was compromised, safety was compromised, hygiene was compromised. Now suddenly the toilets are inside the house. All this has been bypassed now and completely. And I think that has brought about a lot of good change in the health of the female, especially now they've become much more conscious as well. They know that their health is also as important as the other family members that are there. And you know, when the government supports such kind of schemes, where the government give you this backup and they, you know, they hold your back, I think that is, which is very, very essential. And that is what has been done by these schemes, that the women has been given that leverage, that, you know, they realize that health is also an important aspect of life, and how they can simply change the entire trajectory of their house and their family and everybody surrounding them just by being healthy themselves.
Absolutely.
And that is what we are seeing now, that you know, all these, and then again economic empowerment,
of course, yes, absolutely. So it's a wholesome effort to improve women's lives. And he's also said, you know, if 50% of the population of the country is uneducated, unhealthy, is not being empowered, then the country cannot be empowered. The country cannot reach the goal of Viksit Bharat, of being completely developed. I thank both of you for joining me on the telecast, sharing your views. Stay tuned on Newsx for this special telecast that we are airing for you in the next discussion that we have with my panelists. We are talking about the honors and the accolades that the Prime Minister has received from all across the globe. He is now, in fact, the only Indian leader who has won the hearts and the accolades of countries and international organizations around the globe. Stay tuned on Newsx.